It's a pleasure to talk to you about your incredible career in this film, Indignation. How did you, what made the project happen?
I got fired from my studio gig at Focus, and my youngest daughter went off to college, and so I was unemployed and didn't have anybody to yell at the house. The dogs are geriatric, and it was a great opportunity to try something new.
Right. Well, it's a very powerful movie. Is any of it true?
Is any of it true?
Yes.
Well, remember, we're dealing with Philip Roth,
yes,
who wrote the novel.
Right. Because they showed his picture, and he looks very much like they compare him to the boy in the movie.
Yes, Logan Lerman. We kind of styled Logan's hair on the young Philip Roth. Roth had gone off to Bucknell University in 1951.
Okay.
As a young working-class Jewish kid from New York, and I think many years later, we're talking now that Philip Roth is in his 70s and towards the end of his career as a writer. He's just about to retire,
right? And
he returns to that time, and he creates a character that Logan Lerman plays in the film, who is and is not Philip Roth, obviously. It's a different version of a young Philip Roth.
Well, he doesn't die, thank goodness.
Yeah, that's always a difference right there.
That's, I don't mean to have any spoilers.
No, no spoiler alert, because, come on, get it right in there. It's a tragedy. It's a tragic romance.
Right. Did Philip Roth encounter this kind of anti-Semitism in his school? Is that how?
Yeah, I think it would have been hard not to encounter that kind of anti-Semitism in a predominantly non-Jewish school in the early 1950s. People forget in America.
Yes.
We have a long and ignoble tradition of that kind of thing.
Yes. Because it was upsetting to me that he was forced to go to prayer service, and that's the reason his whole life was ruined, because he didn't, as a Jewish person, he just didn't feel, he's actually an atheist, I should say, but, he was born Jewish, and to be put through prayer service, and you had no choice about that, I found that unbelievably heartbreaking.
Yeah, although these were standard for
really
many colleges and universities up through even into the 70s.
Really? So, I had no idea about that. Yeah. I was sort of shocked. I went to a school in upstate New York, which, was many years later, so we didn't have any of this. Did you ever encounter anything like that? No,
but I encountered the remnants of it. A lot of schools turn them into, kind of more secular weekly colloquies, that kind of thing. So it's, these traditions exist in different forms and different ways still today.
But Tracy Letts' character plays he has absolutely no soul.
Here's where I disagree with you.
Okay.
So Tracy Letts plays the dean of men at the college, and he's clearly got his eye on young Marcus Messner, our hero, who's not adjusting too well, since, after all, it's Weinsberg College, and who wants to adjust to that anyhow?
Right.
But they meet and they have what's become, I guess, a fairly talked about scene in the movie, which is a butting of heads over all these issues.
Right.
But I would point out to you the fact that every word that comes out of Dean Caldwell's mouth is true.
Okay.
And that he's primarily trying to get young Marcus to go out on dates and have fun.
Right.
And join the baseball team.
Well, that's true.
But it turns out it makes it even more tragic and kind of more horrible that he becomes one of the instruments of Marcus's demise.
Yes, because he, doesn't succumb to the, requirements at that school by going to that prayer service.
Well, it's also he doesn't sign up to be part of this collectivity.
Right.
Part of the team, part of the gang, part of the community, part of this world in 1951. It was a world that for Marcus, even if he's not conscious of it, he senses is a social world that is still constructed around a highly militarized kind of imperial American adventure, this crazy war overseas in Korea.
Right.
That is just churning out dead young Americans and dead Koreans and Chinese for seemingly no reason, right?
Yes. So what made Philip Roth write the book? Do you know?
I don't. One can only surmise. You start with the title, Indignation. I think in his later years, Philip Roth was going back to his youth, looking back at a moment in time when there were forks in the road and different ways of living and being, and reconsidering some of the things that he experienced back then, but also noticing in that reconsideration that things aren't that different now. That if there's reasons to be indignant about, let's say, senseless American wars overseas and the needless destruction of young people and the kind of rise yet again of this kind of horrific, let's say, for want of a better word, patriarchal thumb on young women, and clearly the character played by Sarah Gadon in the movie is a young woman who's feeling that very clearly.
Right.
And the slut shaming and all that kind of stuff that was going on then, it seems like it's still kind of going on.
That's true.
We think we've gone past all this stuff, but it doesn't seem like we have, does it?
No, absolutely not.
So I think Roth's aware of that.
The actors are fantastic.
Thank you.
Everyone, all the actors in the movie are, wonderful.
Sarah Gadon, who plays Olivia, it was important to find an actor who was technically as adept and skilled as she. She's really got complete control of the craft. But she's also brings that vulnerability. She really risks things on screen, and that was a real gift.
Right. And why do you think she actually tried to kill herself?
I think that we seed a number of little hints about that in the film. But we, like our hero, Marcus Messner, are in a position of not really knowing.
Right.
Right. But there's some
doesn't seem like she's very close to her family.
No.
They seem very cold when, he drops her off and says, "We'll see you Thanksgiving." We'll see you at Thanksgiving. Unlike Danny Burstein, who plays a very, paternal, mothery father who's overbearing and that's, very, cares about his son to the point where it's almost like suffocating.
Right. Yep.
That's a Jewish trait, though.
He's a little huggy. He's
a wonderful person,
Yes.
but his character is very overprotective
Absolutely.
and very caring and adores his son. It's so obvious that he's, the center of his life is his son.
Yeah. No, there's something disturbing about Olivia's father. If you remember,
Yes.
he hands her a little envelope.
He says, "Here's your allowance."
Yeah.
And then we'll see you Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and there's other hints about him in the movie that are not that, shall we say, kosher.
Right. So do you think she was molested by her father?
Well, regardless of whether...
You don't know.
regardless of that and how you read it, clearly a sense of that kind of power over her that she's trying to somehow get out from under.
Right.
And the overbearing and tragic consequences of that power being on her. Certainly she's raising a voice of protest in one manner or another. Clearly a suicide attempt is part of that.
Yeah. And they don't really show her mother, I noticed. It's just the fathers. Danny Burstein's father. Well, they show his
Yeah, Marcus's mother, of course, played by Linda Emond.
She was great.
Who is a goddess, and I think she kills that part. And again, I think as one of the angels of our hero's death in some ways, or his demise, still coming from a place of love.
Yes.
Still trying her best.
Absolutely. It was heartbreaking. It actually got to me late last night. I was thinking about the film and I started crying.
You're not the first person who's mentioned that. It's weird, and I'm very happy I'm making so many people miserable. It was my goal.
Well, I found it moved me. I found it very moving, and I'm a Jewish woman. I felt a connection to the movie. I think that it has a real. It says a lot.
Well, thank you.
It says a lot. So when people describe the film, what would one word be to describe it, other than indignation?
No, it's not indignant. I don't think you leave angry.
Right.
I hope not. If you do, we're in trouble.
Sad. I felt sad.
Yeah, but sad. I hope sad in a way that makes you want to talk to other people about it. I hope it's a movie that regardless of how you feel at the end, and most people are pretty choked up, which is, again, kind of what was our goal, so
Yes.
we hope you are too.
You make good movies about
thank you.
about these
Yeah.
kinds of topics.
Yeah.
And just to let you know, also to my audience, you're in charge of Brokeback Mountain. My readers are a very large gay population of people who read Broadway showbiz, and Brokeback Mountain is one of those movies that was a pinnacle, you know. for
No, it was an
them.
honor to have worked on that film, produced that. But yeah, and again, it's not the happiest ending,
No.
but I hope that it's a fulfilling ending. It's an
Yes.
ending where your heart goes to the characters. You're not cut off from them.
Yes. What is your favorite part of the film? Do you have?
Favorite part of the film?
Yeah. Do you have?
Wow.
Okay.
Do I have a favorite part of the film? You know what? I really enjoyed working. I co-wrote the song that's playing on the
Right.
radio as they go for their date, and we got Jane Monheit to sing it with us for us.
Great.
And recording that day was just ridiculously fun.
I can imagine.
Yeah, that was fun.
That's great. Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview.
Well, thank you.
People have to come see your movie. It's absolutely brilliant.
I agree with you. No, whatever you say, whether I agree or not, I'm with you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.